Thank you so much. So welcome everyone that has stayed to the very end. I hope you've had a wonderful 2 days of learning tons of Apex content. My name is Kellyn Pot'Vin-Gorman, also known as Kellyn Gorman. I am doing a keynote here, and this is odd to do a keynote kind of remote. I've always done it in person, and I kind of interact with my audience, so it's a little different this year. And I also miss out on getting to Germany, which is sad. But it is what it is. And I am sitting in Portland, Oregon, in the middle of the Columbia River, which is right on the border of Washington, the state of Washington, and Oregon. And it's kind of a little overcast early morning, 7 a.m. here. And what I do for a living, I started out as a multi-platform DBA. I had gotten my Oracle certification. I'd never been on a database before, and ended up being handed a 7 terabyte SQL Server 7. So I have always been multi-platform. For those of you that are going, how did Kellyn end up at Microsoft? But I have 2 decades as a database administrator, another 5 years as a DevOps engineer. But I'm usually known as just being somebody who runs amok. I just start initiatives and do things that people go, that wasn't inside your role. And we're going to talk about that today. What is it like to be considered a technical leader when your role doesn't have manager or anything else in it? And how I got here was a little strange. You know, we talk about the accidental technologist and how that comes about. You know, I was one that I suffered a number of strokes in my 20s and kind of had to rebuild everything. My education from college was gone, and I started over from scratch and worked in a shoe store, and then went and sold computers afterwards, and found out I had a knack for software, and Oracle put me through my certification. Of course, then became a DBA without having any database experience whatsoever. And I ended up even working for Oracle. Over those years, one of the things that I learned is that the things that I took on, nothing seemed very overwhelming because I had started an area where everything was overwhelming for me. And leadership was something that I found that I wanted to take on, but when I was in leadership roles, I started missing out on the things that I really loved, which was technology. I ended up finding that admin or administration management work wasn't as interesting to me. So we're going to discuss how that is. What is thought leadership and being that technical leader when it is not in your role? You know, when I started out, there weren't a lot of women mentors. How is that different? You know, but I had those folks that were there engaged with me that showed me and set a lot of examples that I was able to build a really great career out of it, and able to make my own path and come up with success that was in my terms, on my terms, in my realm, and help me fulfill things that I wanted to fill. And then we're talking about how important it is as a woman, and just diversity and inclusion, and being a representative. You know, we hear these terms of you can't be it if you can't see it. And that I learned as I progressed in my career how important it was that I was seen, that I was doing things, that I was constantly being there, and that this recognition that I didn't have those when I was younger because I may not have seen them. So what does a leader look like? Like I said, I'm not in a traditional leadership role. I've held some of them. My previous position was a technical intelligence manager under a CTO, but I didn't enjoy that as much. When we start thinking about leaders, we see somebody with the C in their title, you know, chief technical officer or senior vice president, but we're seeing these titles that go along with that. You know, they may own a company. I'm often, you know, asked to lead outside of my professional career. So it's kind of a bizarre situation when people say, well, she's been the president of this user group, or she's leading up this board, or she led this initiative. And I don't look like what you personally think of. And you look at this guy, and I think in Europe, it's a little bit more open. But if we start talking, like even taking the example of US politics, this guy kind of looks like who's running right now. So you deal with these things. You see these things that we have this kind of bias, this idea of what is a leader. And it may not come together with what in reality can be created. And that's, where we want to go. That's what we want to show, is that leaders are everywhere. Leaders are part of our world, and that we each can contribute to that leadership, and what that means to our technical realm. So I really love Ralph Waldo Emerson, is one of my favorites, and this idea that our chief want is someone who will inspire us to be what we could, what we know we could be. This is probably my main goal as a mentor, as a technical leader, as a sponsor, is that I'm hoping to give opportunities to find ways to help those people around me grow into what I know they could be, that they want to be. I have a tendency to, have and share all my expertise as much as I possibly can. I'm trying to influence others and deliver those outcomes, no matter if it's for my company, no matter if it's for personal goals, no matter if it's for other people's goals. These are extremely important as I'm working through. I have this tendency to believe that there's certain traits, there's certain skills that are extremely essential when we start talking about leadership. Leadership requires an overall vision and understanding of those priorities, no matter if it's a company, personal goals, or even professional goals when it comes to mentoring and leadership. Strong communication skills, and we'll get a little bit deeper into that. Motivated, and we motivate others. Inspiring people by setting an example, I think, is one of the best ways. You can talk the talk, but when you walk the walk, people really are inspired by that when they see what you do and realize that they could do it too. And that goes into, leading by example. That's all part of that there. Our ability to stay calm during stressful times. I'm sure everybody is seeing that right now. The pandemic is building out new leaders every day, and making us question some of them that we do have in leadership roles. So it's really important to see that. Can people stay calm when things really go wrong? That's really important when we start to realize what we're dealing with, and being able to get through those challenging times. Yeah, do we embrace our strengths and our weaknesses? We always hear about, oh, I'm working on my strengths, but one of the best ways to get over weaknesses is to embrace those too. Embrace those, realize we have them, and work on them. And that's going to be part of this discussion too. And then building influence outside the official role. You will hear, and I know I hear this every single job I take, that's not inside your role. That's not in your list of responsibilities. Being able to grow and be more than what you're just assigned to do, doing the job, doing the day job, is a very powerful part of being a leader in your industry. And this is an essential piece of pushing past those boundaries. So those are important things as well we'll discuss. True leaders have vision. We start talking into Satya Nadella. I'm going to say straight out, I'm all team Satya. When you talk about the CEO at Microsoft, he has a unified vision. He's an incredibly humble man, amazing individual. His vision comes from the top down and seems to feed into every facet of the company. Everybody seems to believe in him. They see everything that he's doing, and they live it, they breathe it. It's awesome to watch. It's awesome to watch, to be part of, to just have our monthly talks with Satya and have our questions be open and not checked in any way, and him being open to answering them, and even saying sometimes, I don't have the answer, I'm not real sure, but we'll talk about it and we'll figure it out together. Those kind of leaders breed power within a company. They build and empower those that are in there. When you can do that with your team in smaller scale, it grows to something amazing. And that's what I see at Microsoft. That's what I see whenever I'm finding an incredible person. I remember I worked with a gentleman at Oracle that was that way. And you identified him, you saw him, you realized he had vision. He understood where we all needed to be, where the company needed to go, what we needed to accomplish. And when you see those people, and anybody who worked with Udish Philay, that's who I'm talking about. You saw that. These were individuals that you recognize very quickly. They understand where they have to go to get where they need to be. And it's a powerful capability, and not everybody has that. They are able to balance out tomorrow with today. You need to be able to say, I know where we need to go, but I can't just ask everybody to take this huge leap You know, sometimes these are overwhelming challenges that you're up against. How can you create a picture, or can you create a path that says, this is how we're going to get here, and break it down into bite-sized pieces so that people are able to consume it? You know, provide that framework that says, this is how we're going to get to that sunrise, and to outside of this tunnel, that light at the end of the tunnel, there is one, and it's not a train. You know, those are very important as we work through. They're able to say, here's our short-term goals, and feel accomplished. So it's not just a trudge every day of going, how do we get through today so we can get to tomorrow? They reward them for the things that they do accomplish in short term. And they're very clear about their priorities and where they want to get to, and what's important and what's not important. And they focus on data. I don't know how often I've been able to directly, you know, focus on a problem and address it and get through these challenges by saying, this is what the data says. We're not going to go on assumptions. We're not going to guess. I need data. Until I have the data, I'm going to waste my time. And exhausting resources on time that's wasted is just not worth it. It's not worth it. And somebody with vision understands that. Fearlessness, and this is something that I love Tina Fey. I just do. And this saying here really rings true with me, because many times I have not been the favorite person in the beginning. I've not, you know, when you choose the fearless path, you're often not going to be rewarded for it in the beginning. You have to have your sights set on that final goal, on what you want to achieve, and stick to it, and be tenacious, and have persistence, and maybe a little OCD. You know, obsessive compulsive disorder may come into rule with your, but being able to make sure that you stick to it, and understand that sometimes you may not be going with the flow. You're not going to be a yes man. You're going to have to do what's right, not just the right thing at that moment. And focus on what you want to accomplish, and do it in a way with humor and humility and support, but understand, saying, you know, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't stick to this. I wouldn't be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish unless I say this out loud. I've got to do the right thing. And it's sometimes going to be frustrating in the beginning, but I have always felt that I never regretted it in the end. We communicate a lot. Leaders are communicating all different levels. One of the things that I noticed very, very clearly as I worked through these is, you know, these different leadership initiatives, is that I was listening all the time. And I talk a lot. I mean, I talk a lot when I'm communicating with people. I'm much more comfortable in one-on-one communication, but I'm also listening. And I'm listening not just with my ears, but also awareness of other people's body language. I'm always taking, and I talk about, I've got like 25 different channels open in my brain, and it's taking in all this information, and I'm watching how people are communicating with body language. I am, you know, I'm counting on empathy. There's a lot of different levels of intelligence, and being able to say, not just common sense, what's the common sense solution here, but also, how do people feel about that? Is it too much of a jump for them? Are they coming along with me in this conversation, or do I need to backtrack a little bit and return and visit a conversation, actual topic? Make sure that I have knowledge of the subject, make sure that I'm prepared to have that conversation. And then use various ways of communicating, which means that I may present it with pictures, I may present it with audio, it may be a visual, it may be a long discussion, an interactive discussion. I may need to present it in a number of different ways to make sure that everybody is on board and also has buy-in to what we want to accomplish, or what the discussion is about. And I'm always negotiating. I think we always think of this negotiating is, you know, oh, it's about salaries and titles and promotions. It's not. It's negotiating as part of my everyday deals. Right now, I'm building an initiative right now for Oracle on Azure, and it is infrastructure as a service with virtual machines. And it's one of those lost little sets within Microsoft. Microsoft is huge. When you get in there, you find out that databases are a small part of the world. You know, you got Office 365, which like is this huge monster whale in the pond. And when you're talking about Oracle and Azure, that's a small piece. And being able to explain, to somebody that, oh, this is part of the business and this is how we build this initiative, I need to negotiate with those that may have different ideas of where it should go. I need to bring in their idea and incorporate it into mine and say, this is an overall concept. So I'm negotiating with them to say, I know yours is important too. How do I bring you into this and get your buy-in, not just others. I'm going to be using verbal and written and pictures and code designs, and I'm building in everyone. I'm going to bring in marketing. I'm going to bring in the technical, the PMs, everyone on board to try to get them all on the same page and getting allies into my conversation. I'm going to keep focused on my overall goal, but I may incorporate some of their wishes as well to try to get that accomplished. I also keep calm under chaos. Folks don't realize how important this is to a leader. If you have a leader that's stressed, that you have a leader that lashes out at people when times are rough, it's not going to work well. I have a really important kind of, or a good experience in this in my own history, and I think most people will have a story that's similar. But I had worked at a company that I had left and gone on a contract position, and I came back, 10 months later. And when I had left, I was really doing two jobs. They ended up hiring two DBAs to fulfill the new role because I was over allocated, plain and simple. And there was one woman that I brought in that I felt could take over my lead tasks. And there was another guy that I brought in. He was the workhorse. He was going to take over my workload. When I returned, the reverse had happened. They had made him the lead, and she was expected to pick up the workload. The interesting thing is that under stressful times, if a production system went down, anything like that, he became extremely stressed, lashed out at people around him, had difficulty making very defined decisions, setting priorities. He was not calm under chaos. And this really impacted the group. As he became angry and would lash out, there was less collaboration, there was less solutions in shorter amount of time. You really saw the impact of that. So having somebody that is calm, that doesn't worry about that small stuff, that treats people as they would want to be treated, that makes everyone available to collaborate and communicate and listen and to solve problems, that's a crucial part of leadership. So if you're going to be a leader, when the going gets tough, you need to get going. You need to remain calm, be able to break down those large tasks into bite-sized pieces and help everyone get through that and not feel terrible when they've finished up. It's one thing to look back and go, oh, that was a terrible situation when this production system went down and we had to recover it for 36 hours or something like that. But to feel terrible about who you're working for during that time because they just made you feel terrible being there, that's a problem. And that's something that you want to address. We also want to start talking about how these leaders pay forward. It's going to result in better decision-making skills if they're calm. They're thinking things through. You have calmer technical peers to work on critical tasks, especially in a technical world where it may be, we're talking about mission critical systems, very important. The company relies on these. You've got that improved team morale, and it's less impacting the issues, so they're resolved more quickly. This is really important too, as a technical leader. We don't find fault, we're finding a remedy. This is from Henry Ford, and it's really challenging as we're dealing with these, is that you will have, and I know, again, people all know this person, comes into a meeting, complains, and then leaves. And you're kind of stuck there looking at all this list of complaints going, wow, now I've got tons of work to do. Who's going to do this? Being able to say, this doesn't work, but I was thinking about it, and I thought maybe we could do A or B, and this will solve it. That's very powerful to not just say, this doesn't work, but I have this option or this idea, or I'd like to brainstorm with somebody. I'm not real sure how to fix this, but I know that we're having this problem here. Those make better collaborators. Those people make better team members, and they are naturally leaders when they do that because they're leading to a solution. You can set priorities better. you already know, oh, I've got an option for this to fix this, they're going to be more likely to fix it than somebody who just complains and says this doesn't work. So make a pact with yourself if you're trying to get into more of a leadership role within your team to say, if I complain about something, I better have an option of how to fix it, or at least some kind of idea. It makes a huge difference that people will be more willing to listen to you, and they're going to bring your situations, your challenges up to discussion with a higher priority than other ones. A technical leader also is authentic. I myself, I definitely think I have authenticity. I don't think there ever should be two of me. I've told my boss that a couple of times when they thought they should have two DevOps engineers. No, only should ever be one of Kellyn. That's it. Authenticity builds trust, understanding, integrity, connections. It also builds vision. That's usually a lot of authentic people. They have a vision. They know what they want, not just from when you think authenticity with brand, but where they're going in the world, what they want from their lives. They've figured this kind of out. They know what they want. All the best known leaders, those that are highly respected, they are authentic, and sometimes maybe not in the best way, but they're unique, and authentic is really important. It isn't somebody who copies another authentic personality too. Some say, well, I'm trying to be authentic, and they're really just seeing what's cool. Authenticity sometimes isn't cool. Authenticity is being yourself, being true to yourself. And, people will either accept that or they won't. And you have to be all right with that. Another thing, Satya Nadella, I find him extremely authentic. And I think that helps in a leader, that because he is himself, he doesn't feel the need to be anyone else, that you accept him a little more too. We're also changing the status quo. We've all heard, oh, that's just the way they've always done it. And I think that's one of the biggest frustrations when, as a technical person, you see something broke. And if we want to change things, a lot of times we can better change them when we're inside the system, when we're part of that. That's one of the reasons that I was very attracted to DevOps, was because DevOps mixed all the different teams. I wasn't just in the DBA team anymore. I was part now of networking, and I was part of, the automation team for the deployments. And I could actually be part of the change of the overall flow and everything inside the company. And that was very attractive to me. That was very interesting to me. And I was able to really make an impact to the entire company instead of just the database environment. You change that. If the data doesn't support what you're trying to change, find the data, is what I figured out. And if I could prove there was something broke and prove that we had an option to fix it, people were willing to listen to me, even if it wasn't my area of specialties. They would seek me out. I've been able to make other kind of opportunities in other areas because I was willing to take on things that I may not have known, I may not have been a technical expert at, but I was willing to take that on and work on it. So I was willing to make changes of things that were broke and willing to change that status quo. Authentic people are true to themselves. We use our own voice. We don't copy others. We're trying to be ourselves. We're supportive of others. When you're authentic, because you're trying to be yourself, you really don't feel like you have to be somebody else. You stand at your ground. We are. We're very clear about standing our ground and doing what's right again. It comes back to that. Then doing, just what everybody else is doing. It can be a challenge when you're working around people that are saying, oh, well, it'd be so much easier if you just said yes to this, and saying, I can't do that. I had a vendor that had a product that specified specifically in Oracle technology in their documentation that it was not supported. And I told them straight out, I said, my job is to make sure that customers are as satisfied as long-term on Azure, on Oracle, and I want them to have a supported product. I said, I love what you're doing, but I can't back this up. I can't. And that was the right thing to do. Even if it wasn't the popular thing to do, it was the right thing to do. And you've got to do that. It's part of being authentic, is not just following the flow, following, the lemmings. You can't do it. I'm very tenacious. I do follow through with, anything that I say that I'm going to do. I follow through with it. I try to complete tasks on time. Sometimes I get overwhelmed, but I definitely do. I know when to say no, and I don't let people waste my time. But I enjoy challenges, and I'm very dependable, and that makes me authentic as well as just somebody that people can count on, which I think is part of that authenticity as well. And as we talked about being tenacious, you have to have a passion with being tenacious and being persistent. Some of my bosses, again, would refer to it as OCD, that I'm a little obsessive about things, but you have to stick to your guns on it. You have to know what's wrong and be willing to fix it, no matter how long it takes. Sometimes you'll fail, but the most important thing is that you stuck to it until it was successful. That's what people see. When my middle son there, Sam, was 16 years old, we had been arguing about something, and he says, "Well, Mom, it never happens to you. You're perfect. You never do anything wrong." And I was so surprised by that comment, because I figured because he was my son and saw me every day, he saw everything that I did wrong. And I'm like, "Sam, I'm not perfect. I'm always doing things wrong. I just never give up." And I realized that from the outside, it looked like I was doing all this great stuff. And to me, from the inside, for me, I looked at it and went, "Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I'm such a dork." And it was that I just wasn't giving up. And that really is the key. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. All you have to do is that one more time that you're successful. And it is worthwhile in the end. People seem to remember the successes. They don't remember how many times you fell down. And as a technical leader, it means you still have to keep with tech. You got to figure out what knowledge you need. You've got to figure out how to combine them with the interests at your company and how to leverage that and get education and get, training money, all of that. I've been lucky that I've been able to have these discussions with my bosses and been able to sell them on it. Is even this what I'm doing right here. I should have been in Germany this week, and it was something to sell because it wasn't in my role. It wasn't for me to do public speaking. As an engineer, which I took in 4 months ago as a subject matter expert on Oracle at Azure, I would not be out there speaking, but I was able to sell it to both the marketing team as well as my team, that it would help build out our team, that it would build out our initiative. So it was something that I had to take on. So being able to say I would get a chance to listen to people's technical talks, that I would get to network with folks, that was a way of building that out and helping me with my education on the Oracle side, because I can't get this kind of Oracle education on the Microsoft side. As well as saying, hey, this is one way of working around it. But I'm always figuring out how to do more technical things inside my role. I am now in an engineering role. My previous role was less technical. So I'm always shifting myself to there. That's what I really enjoy. So I figure out, where can I get free education? What opportunities are there? What education come with certifications that I might be able to take? Where do I get interactive learning? I've matched up with one of my peers on my team that is fantastic, and he's willing to do more interactive training with me. I figure out what's online, what's local. Are there user group trainings, any of that I can take and continue my education as I go forward. And I share that knowledge. You see, I'm presenting, but I do a lot of technical work. I do a lot of technical blogging. I do a lot of writing. I'm rewriting all the Microsoft Docs right now, which we won't even talk about how much of a nightmare that is. Being able to share your knowledge is incredibly important. People often think that they are they're an asset if they have all this knowledge inside their head and people need them. And if you're not sharing it, you're actually a liability, because something happens to you and no one else knows. I want to make sure that my knowledge is out there. Anybody who needs it, they can download my scripts from GitHub and they can use them any way they want. If they're trying to deploy an Oracle VM, if they're trying to build a firewall rules, they can grab those. They want to deploy a modern data warehouse, with the solution for student information systems from my education days. It's still there. It's all available to them. I don't want anybody feel like they're dependent upon me to get where they need to go. So I'm constantly sharing that knowledge, and that does make me that asset that they need, because I am helping other people get along. I am training CSAs, our actual architects, to do the work that I'm doing. because it's the only way that we're scalable and that we can grow. Next step is being a mentor. This is something that I've had a lot of experience in. I'm not real sure how I ended up becoming a mentor. I think I just didn't want people to go through what I had gone through when I started out. I had lucked out when I started kind of looking around and seeing all the women that had dropped like flies by about 2011 around me. And the one difference that I saw is that I had had sponsorship as well as mentoring. You know, these individuals had gone out of their way to say, Kellyn shouldn't leave tech. You should keep Kellyn. Don't let her go to the PM team. Another person said, come work for me. You know, Alex Gorbachev said, come work at Pythian. Tim Gorman's the one who said, hey, you should stay in tech. You shouldn't go to the PM team. These small changes were the reason that I ended up being successful to begin with and didn't leave. My path wasn't diverted. And when we start talking about those differences between mentors and sponsors, it's crucial to get in there and really make a change. You know, finding that these women were leaving was really crushing for me, and having those discussions, realizing that we were all going through that same thing, that it was just those small changes. I wanted to become that person that I wanted when I was going through this. And so I reached out, and my whole goal was just to have it pay forward. That was all that I asked for, so that it was scalable, because I could see that it wasn't self-sustaining. And for mentoring, I think we need to remember, for people of color and women, they're 4 times more likely to be mentored than sponsored. Men are 4 times more likely to be sponsored. And sponsorship, we'll talk about it, but mentoring, people see this formal kind of discussion that goes on, an agreement, and it's rarely like that. My mentoring is very organic. I may see somebody in a crowd at a WIT talk or a panel that I'm on that I'm like, I should mentor them. They've got that energy, that right fit. They're looking for that path. I can see it as I'm talking to them. But sometimes they've reached out to me, or sometimes they come up and ask me about it. But most of the time it's just organic. We start talking, we recognize that there's that connection there. I can help them, and it forms over a period of time. Mentoring is very much a two-way street. I get a lot out of it too. Many times I get a friend out of it. I get a peer. I get somebody in my network. You're only as good as your network. Networks are extremely important. And so I reach out and I talk to these individuals. I match them up. It's not just me one-on-one. It's usually 2 to 3 people in a group. And that way, if I'm not available, they have another person in the network, and we build it out from there. We set clear expectations and goals. And it's not like you meet formally once every week, once every 2 weeks, or anything like that. It's as the person is needed, and depending on what those person's needs are. Some people need a lot less from me, and they mature their leadership skills. As they learn from me, then they pay it forward and start doing with other people. And I teach them how to fish. That's my job. I'm not fishing for them. So that's that whole goal with that. But it's different than sponsorship. Sponsorship is extremely crucial. And I was doing this right from the beginning, but I didn't know that that's what it was called. When I had started out, I had come up pretty fast, and I was getting so many opportunities. People were like, will you write on this book? Will you write this article? Will you present here? And it was too much. I couldn't take it all on. So I was fearful, because I had heard this, that if I said no, these offers would all dry up. People would stop coming to me. So instead of saying no, very self-serving, no question about it, I started finding other people who could do it, and I was sponsoring them. By doing this, people kept coming to me because they knew if I didn't do it, if I couldn't handle it, I knew somebody who could. And that way I was sponsoring others, and they kept coming to me for mentorship even more so, because they knew I would also sponsor. I ended up with a really large network. I still do that all the time. Jonathan Genick knows when he needs an author, you know, no matter if it's Oracle or Microsoft, I can usually find the author. It's a win-win for everyone. And that's what's so great about sponsorship, because other people grow, you get new people in the industry, new blood in the industry, and you're going to have people that, you know, grow up and out of your industry. We see that even, you know, when you look at the Oak table. I think over 30% of us have now grown into other industries. That happens. So you need fresh faces in there. You need to keep influencing and building the new generation. And this gives you the ability to do it with sponsorship, not just mentoring, but sponsorship. Because people can say, I'm learning, I'm doing, but if people don't know who they are, though that name isn't out there, you're not talking about them, they may not get there. And that's where this comes into importance. And great leaders, we pay it forward. We create better leaders. We create more leaders in the industry. And, I'm loath to, even say any names because they achieved this, they did this. But you're very proud of them when you see people that you remember that were going, I don't know if I'll ever get an ace. I don't know if I can ever get where I want to go, what their achievement is. And you see them now today, and you're so proud of them and see what they've accomplished. And it's a wonderful thing. And that, I think, is the greatest benefit of being a leader in technology, is seeing how it affects your industry, seeing how people have evolved and the industry evolves, and that the more that are contributing to it, the more impressive it is. I embrace my strengths and my weaknesses. This is that topic again that we talk about is really bizarre because everybody says, oh, you have confidence, you know what you're doing, what you bring to the table. But I also know my weaknesses. I'm very clear about them. One of the things that we joke about when we discuss bullies and me, I bring out the worst in bullies. And I was like, what is it about me that does it? And found out that it was actually my weaknesses. I'm very comfortable with my weaknesses. I just work with them. I'm completely content with them. And it doesn't bother me. I know what they are. I'm very accountable for it. I'll tell anybody I'm a dork. I'm a total dork. And I've accepted them and I'm constantly working on them. I don't hide them. And for bullies, this can be very just unnerving. They're often hiding them for insecurities. They will get aggressive with me about them. And it's just an unnerving situation. So learning how to accept your weaknesses and say, this is something about me that I know. I'm an ADHD kid, total ADHD. If you let me get bored, I will get in trouble, just plain and simple. If I'm very good at getting 95% of a task done, got to get that last 5%, kick me in overdrive. So I know about how to partner me with somebody who is very good at getting that last 5% done. These are incredibly important. That is understanding my weakness and trying to work through it. I also admit when I've made a mistake. Like I said, I'll be like a total dork and say, I just screwed this up. I'm not afraid to say that. And I think that's incredibly important when we talk about what is the difference between somebody who may be arrogant and somebody who's confident. I'm pretty confident and I don't even realize it. I just think I'm being me. But I realized that I was making certain people uncomfortable because women who are confident can be uncomfortable for a lot of folks. And I was just being me. I didn't think anything of it. I'm going, this is who I am. Here I am. I'm out there. But it does make a difference. When you are confident, people feel more confident following you. I decrease those impacts and weaknesses. Like we were talking about, not only am I accountable, but like I have a favorite DBA that I've worked with at multiple companies. Terry, you will never find him online. You look for him, he's hiding from the man, or you can find me online at any time. But you would put us on databases and he was incredibly skilled, wonderful, but he was very methodical. And I would handle this huge workload where he was very serial and worked on things, but he would finish out what I didn't. So he'd see what I was doing and this huge workload, and he'd go, oh, Kellyn didn't finish that 5%. He'd come in and finish it. Oh, that 5% finished it. But we could make anything sing, any environment sing. And I really respected Terry in that capability that he balanced me out, that yin yang thing. And understanding that when you need that other individual that is completely different from you. I think in the 3 different jobs we worked at, we probably had lunch 2 times the entire 3 jobs. I mean, we were so different, but we were perfect work, companions, perfect because we balance each other out completely. Your job is as good as your boss. This is the absolute truth of it. When I have a boss. Everybody has bosses, no matter how high you go up. I interview my managers longer than they interview me. No doubt about it. I'm like, do you want to ask me more questions? You're already set on me. Seriously, do you not want to ask me? I'm always asking questions. I want to understand this. Managers can make or break your job. So definitely consider that. It's a huge deal. I can't say enough about doing that, and having somebody who has the tribal knowledge about the company that you're interested in. I will usually interview and work with a company a year before I'm actually taking the job to find out everything about them. I find out, somebody inside that can give me inside tribal information about what is the best role, how is the team, is it healthy? Get all that information before you ever come on board. At Oracle, it was somebody called Mary Melgard. She's there. She's wonderful. Pete Sharman helped me out. Jeff Smith. Those individuals were priceless to getting me in the right team when I got there. And, we start talking about sharing and strength. A leader isn't somebody who forces others to make him stronger. A leader is someone willing to give his strength to others. This goes again sometimes into mentoring, into sponsorship, but leadership. You don't need to be the one on top all the time. You can sponsor your other people. You can help them achieve as well. And then for the women in the room, people of color, this is a challenge. As we move up, this happens not so much for the guys in the room, but women can lose technical opportunities as they move up. Excuse me. Make sure that technical projects are still part of your role. Excuse me again, got a frog in my throat. Battle for those. Make sure that if you have a peer and you see that they're getting those technical challenges that you would like, have a discussion with your manager. Sometimes this is just unconscious bias. They don't realize it. I had a discussion with one manager who actually said, well, I thought you would prefer these kind of tasks. I didn't realize that you wanted the same technical tasks as your peer does. And I had to let him know that it wasn't intentional in any way. He didn't realize that it was unconscious bias. So make sure you do that. Stand up and tell them what's important to you, why you enjoy those for your job, and be persistent, engage, create your own workload if you need to ensure that you get the things that you want from your job. And last but not least, the influencer. Becoming an influencer is incredibly powerful as a leader. It is that next step in it. This has always been very humbling for me, and I really like the saying, influence is when you are not the one talking and yet your words fill the room, when you are absent and yet your presence is felt everywhere. When individuals has come to me and said, you're the reason that I am in tech now. Your talk that you did 3 years ago. I talked to somebody yesterday and they're like, we had lunch with Miranda, 3 years ago. Do you remember me? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no. But they're the reason she's at Microsoft now from Oracle. But when people tell you you made that impact on their life, you realize that what you do makes a difference. And being a leader in an industry makes that, it creates that. So being able to stand up and say that what I do every day sets an example, what I do every day makes change is crucial. I use various mediums. As most people know, I'm out there online. I'm using Twitter and LinkedIn, and I blog, and I write articles, and you see it. I'm changing all the Microsoft docs right now for Oracle because I'm like, we got to do this right. I clearly demonstrate what is important. I don't waste my time on anything that isn't. I know when to say no. I'm not afraid if people disagree with me, but I do also set boundaries. If it's something that wastes my time, it isn't worthwhile, I'm going to say that very clearly and say, I appreciate your feedback. I do need to focus here, though. I'm not going to waste my time on this. My peers are very willing to support my ideas because they know I'm very principled and that I have something that I'm trying to achieve, and I'm able to clearly describe that vision for them. And even though I'm speaking, I'm also listening and monitoring what's going on, and I may adjust where I'm going to incorporate other things that make sense. I'm not steadfast in saying I must go this path and there's no way to be flexible. I must be flexible as I'm working along. So if you're interested in becoming a technical leader, it's not about that title and that role, that promotion that we're all looking for. Although I always go for it. If you want that title and you deserve it, you should get it. And understand your industry, the business that you're working in, the people that you work with. Offer solutions, not just criticism. Always have an opportunity to find a way around it or work around something. Use thought leadership. Be flexible though, and mentor, sponsor even more so, to set an example. That you are setting an example in the industry is so crucial to the future of technology, especially in Oracle. What I'm seeing in the Oracle community is phenomenal. I am so pleased with where I'm seeing people be allies and standing together, and the user group community is just fantastic. I love it. And that also goes into possessing empathy and humility for each other, supporting each other's path and their vision. And even if they're in different technologies, it's all right. We all make one community. We're all part of this united vision, and influence those around you. Influence, everyone that you can with positive and feel good and everybody's success. We're all on our own path, and we really need to focus on ourselves, not what the other person is accomplishing. And overall, be satisfied with what you have. People are like, but I want more. You can want more. But what you'll find is that those that are never satisfied will never be satisfied, no matter what they get. So if you can say, I really love what I have, even if I want to accomplish these other things, you will always be happy. You will always be content with the things that you accomplish in the place that you're going to be, and you continue to fight the good fight and do the right things, and have a good life working in technology, because it is a wonderful place to be. And with that, I want to thank everybody for sticking along, if you did, for the final session of the conference. I'm sure you've had a long couple days and your brain is full of Apex knowledge. But I hope this was a fun little talk. I really enjoyed coming in and having this opportunity, and it was wonderful to get the chance to talk to everybody. Hi. I'm away from my slides.
You're no, you're perfect. Thank you for this very inspiring presentation. I know it's a little bit you getting used to it, to do it to present like this. So I was actually hoping to see you in Germany at this time around, but yeah, maybe next year. But thank you very much. There were actually no questions asked in the panel, so I guess you're right. Everybody is stuffed with all the technology and all the presentations. So thank you very much for sharing your insight, and hope you have a good day there.
I will. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.